Just a helpful hint, these are conversations between adults intended for adults. There is the potential for some adult subject matter or adult language.
Hi. Hi. Hi, guys. Welcome to my basement where I bring all my friends and then record them. We're going to record a conversation.
Why does she look like my precious?
Oh, Smeagol.
Right, yeah.
Smeagol. Honestly, Smeagol scared me more than any other movie character. There's like something about like he was like, he would seem all innocent, then he'd bite your finger off. Oh, God.
He never seemed innocent to me.
Well,
he seems like this like decomposed creature.
Well, on that note, welcome to my basement and welcome to the Don't Cut Your Own Bangs podcast. I wanted to start off just by introducing you and creating some context, and then I'll start off by talking about you, and then you guys can chime in if you want to talk about yourself. This will be the whole podcast. Yeah. I'm just going to talk about you the whole time.
No, that's our favorite.
Yes, the favorite game. Danielle talk and we listen. So I have two very special guests with me today. I have Sarah Kleinknecht and I have Marie Rossetti. And they are not talking yet, so I'm going to continue talking.
You said you were going to
I know. I'm like, geez, guys, you didn't get that. You didn't chime in.
Just be polite. We're waiting.
So let me start off by introducing my friend Sarah here. So Sarah, she is a private chef. She sells essential oils through doTERRA. She works with Beauty Counter. She is a natural cosmetic retailer. And pretty much all things nutrition, health, wellness, and food related, she's your girl. And she's created an incredible business in Los Angeles cooking for some, let's just say the A-list of the A-list, like the type of people that would make other celebrities blush are her clients. And I can't say more about that. And I really wish I could to really give you context of the rock star that this woman is. But alas, I cannot. So, Sarah, welcome.
Thanks.
Yes.
Good to be here.
I'm so glad you're here.
This is so fun. This was actually a dream of mine. Remember, we were sitting on the beach in Santa Monica, and Marie was at home in Brazil, but we were like, messaged you and we were like, I think we should do a podcast.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So here we are.
It was going to be together. Two blondes and a Brazilian.
Yeah.
So this is now the special episode of Two Blondes and a Brazilian. And let me introduce
coming to you in 2019.
Coming soon. Well, let me introduce our Brazilian guest, which you didn't know, listeners, that she was until we just said she was. But
all I did so far was laugh. So.
Yeah, you can't get the accent from the laugh. Is that an accent? Don't laugh silently, Marie. This is a podcast.
Sorry.
You gotta make noise. So Marie, welcome to the Don't Cut Your Own Bangs podcast, and also welcome back to the States.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
This woman is, she's a quadruple threat in terms of the languages she's fluent in. Let's see. Tell me the languages you're fluent in.
So Portuguese, first one, English, French. I wouldn't call it totally fluent.
Sure.
I'm okay.
to your standard. Yeah, I'm like, croissant.
I'm fluent.
Oui.
To me, French and Spanish are still like on the. I'm in the learning process, but no, Portuguese and English totally comfortable with.
Well, she's brilliant. In case you didn't, so. Okay, so let's just say she's fluent and she's really smart. Okay. Fantastic. And you also run a restaurant in Brazil, and you like the operations, the menu planning, the food prep, the equipment. Like
it's a one-woman show.
Yeah. So we have two culinary goddesses here before us, one from the West Coast and one from the Southern Hemisphere. So we're gonna have a lot of fun things to talk about, you guys. So I want to jump off the conversation right away and just ask you both are people who have taken tremendous risk to build the lives that you currently have and to build the careers and the businesses that you're currently in. And my favorite conversation to have, I think, with people is, what does it take, or what does that process look like when you're standing on the cliff face and you see the life ahead of you, or maybe you even don't see, the life that you want to leap into, but you leap anyway, and you both in multiple ways, and God, I can probably think of 5 examples each where you've taken these tremendous leaps of faith. But I'm just really curious to hear from you what what that looked like, what that felt like at the time?
Scary as hell.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it's never an easy thing.
No, and sometimes it's not even a choice.
Right.
Like it was
Like
so
you just
the
know you
case
have
for
to.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you guys know, but your listeners don't, I didn't have a choice of whether I had to leave the U.S. or not. It came a point where I had lost my job, and so with it, my visa, and I had to go home, which was not in the plans. And so I really had to like rethink everything as far as like what I wanted for a family, for a life, for what I wanted to do, everything. So much so that I went like, you know, from working in finance to owning a restaurant, totally the other end of the spectrum. But since the restaurant is so new still, the feeling I remember having was like, can I do this? Am I enough for, like, can I handle this? Will I be able to do this right? Will I not mess everything up? And luckily I had somebody, you know, with me that had so much faith in me, and he just said, yes, you can do this. Don't think about it. Just do it.
I think
so it was
you
a
have to
leap.
have those people when you feel those times of like, I can't do this. I'm not enough. Like, who am I to do these like crazy big dreams or whatever? And you have those people in your life, whether it's your girlfriends or, you know, the guy in your life or whatever, it's so important to have those people.
We have some people in the house in the background. I apologize. This is a little guerrilla style podcasting. So if you can just turn that out and just continue listening to the beautiful words of Sarah.
But it's true. You have to have those people that are in your corner being like, yep, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then for you both, then what I'm hearing is connection relationships was a big part of what helped you make that leap.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
I think for me, everything's driven because of that, or for that, I should say. It's a leap that you're like unsure you can take, but you know you're holding hands with like the people that support you. And so even if you fall, somebody's holding you. And you can get back up.
Well, then what would you say to somebody who feels, because I know for me, when I'm stuck in my I'm not enough place, I don't know if I can do this, even though I have those supports, like if I could get outside of my own head and my own way, I could see that I have supports and those people are there all along. And even if you truly think you do have no supports, whether it's your faith or your religion, like, you know, what's that expression that, you know, you will like there, I'm going to butcher it, but like, there's always someone walking beside you, and, you know, like whether that's God or whether that's whatever deity you believe in. So we're never truly alone. And yet I have felt so alone in my struggles and in my pain before. And though that seems like the natural thing to think to do, like lean into help, lean into support, connect, that's not what I instinctively do when I need it most. And so I'd love to hear how you both work through that.
Of like finding the people to
when you
need it.
Yeah, when you feel alone. Like, because I mean, like Sarah, you went from having an established cooking business in Indianapolis with a rapport. I mean, you were like the top of the field. You were cooking for Colts and Pacers players. So like you peaked in Indy, and then you went from a big fish in a little pond to like a minnow in the ocean in LA. Yeah. But then you still, I mean, my God, like what you've accomplished is you're no longer a minnow, but like that's where you started.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to think, like, I mean, I think you just have to have those people in your life that you're going to be able to reach out to, like when you need it. But
you're so self-reliant though.
I am. Yeah. But I also need, like, I think the people around me know when I'm like, okay, we need to step in and be like, how you doing? But I think for me, taking the leap has always been, I get like that pit in my stomach of like, I've kind of reached my full potential in this whatever, and I need, like, I kind of want to do something different. And so I have to like take that leap, and I will regret it if I don't. And it's going to be scary as hell to do it, like through that process. But I don't think there's ever been a time where I've regretted doing something big. And so I think like
that's powerful.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you regret the not doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You regret the things you don't do.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's really.
But I think that's the case for really anyone. Like, I don't think you're going to regret having those big dreams and going for them and doing it. Like, the outcome may not come exactly how you planned it, but that could lead you to the next thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you wanted to stay in the States. Like, that was your thing of like, that was your plan. And yet the whole circumstances, you maybe didn't want the whole move back and whatever, but you took it in stride. You met an amazing man. You have like a really great life. You feel at home. Like you just needed to kind of take that leap, and you took it in stride.
Well, yeah, the moving back was taken for me.
Right. But you had to make the most of it. Like you had, you could have gone back. It was my mindset.
That was it for me. That moment in my life was when I knew I needed to figure this out for myself. Because when I had to go back to Brazil, I mean, I knew I had both of you a phone call away, and all the people that I left behind that I knew loved me. And I was going back home, but there was a moment when it all clicked that I was like, I have to make the best of this. Like, no matter how much people love me, I'm the one that has to choose, be here, be present, have my mind switch in a way of like, all right, this is home now. We gotta, I gotta make the best of this situation right now. And so as much as I like, yes, you lean in for support from people that love you, I think it has to come from inside. You have to
you
change
ultimately
your mindset.
have to.
Yeah.
Well, some two really crucial takeaways I got from both of you, because it's so easy to reflect back and think in hindsight what you were able to do, but when you're in it, it's so different. And, Sarah, what I took away from you was that, for you, it was you almost had those relationships established and prescribed going into a new challenge. So you said, okay, you kind of established a rapport. So maybe for someone listening, like, maybe you're not going to know how to ask for help when you need it, but before you take that leap, like calling in the troops and saying, listen, I'm about to do something that fucking terrifies me,
right,
and I'm going to need you to check in on me, and I'm going to need you to call me, and I'm going to need you to just every once in a while, like, or even like help someone hold you accountable, like an accountability partner.
Oh, I definitely, that's huge for me.
But accountability for even maybe talking about your struggles or talking about your feelings, like, hey, okay, it's Thursday at 4.
Right.
Okay.
So
did you pee your pants today?
Yeah.
Were you terrified?
Right.
And then, Marie, I think your answer was really lovely too, in a completely different direction. It sounds like what you took from that was mindfulness. Like, I need to find, it's like mindfulness meets gratitude. What's working for me in this moment right now? Not what do I wish I had, not what am I focused on the future, but like what is working right now?
Yeah. You get to choose, and you have to choose. If you don't, for me at least, it's at least how I operate in my life. Like, if I don't choose where my mind goes, it gets chosen for me. So if I'm somewhere and I may have not had a choice to be there, I'm going to choose how I feel about it. And that made a big difference. Of course, there was like a period where, like, adapting back, and for everybody else that doesn't know, like, as soon as I got back to Brazil, the language was a little tricky because I hadn't spoken it in 8 years, or I did with family, but not enough. Yeah. And my mother, within like a week of me being back, my mom was diagnosed with an aneurysm and was fighting for her life for like a good month in the hospital, in the ICU. And so it was stressful all around. But throughout the whole process, I just remembered being so mad. And then when finally she was healthy enough that I could breathe, I made a conscious decision to choose to change my mindset. And I think that's when things started to fall into place.
Well, Brene Brown talks about the dark night of the soul, where you get hit from all sides and everything around you seems like it's falling apart, and you're just kind of like in the bottom of the pit. And I definitely think that period for you was that. So your mother is in the hospital with a brain aneurysm, waiting surgery. You are in a country, though your native country, a country you haven't lived in for 8 years.
Since you were in 18 even.
Yeah, I turned 18.
Yeah.
My mom wouldn't let me leave.
So your adult life.
Before 18. I wanted to actually leave before 18, but she wouldn't let me. Just because, like, I wouldn't even be able to sign my own documents,
Right.
And so, like, when I finally turned 18 in February, early March, like, my birthday's on late February, and early March, I was gone.
Wow. I don't know if I realized that.
Well, I think it's so easy to look at two people like you that are beautiful and successful. If someone were to follow you on Instagram or Facebook, they would see natural beauties, doing exciting things, taking trips around the world, going to, like Sarah, like going to, polo matches in LA and having these awesome rooftop parties and, taking photos of the beautiful food that you make. And Marie, like, traveling to Portugal and traveling to Chile and going snowboarding with your husband. And like, you see this beautiful life, and that's definitely part of your life. That is definitely part of your truth. But I think that it's so easy when we're suffering to look at someone else's life and think how easy it would be. And that was anything but easy. And not that we want to put our pain on a pedestal, but when you were in that place where you, like, it was just one foot in front of the other, trying to find your way out, trying to redefine who you were in this new environment, like what were you, I guess, I wish I could think of a better way to ask, but like, what were you really afraid of, apart from once your mother's health was in line and you knew she was going to be okay? I don't mean like that kind of like, but sort of looking at your life and looking at this new future. Mm-hmm. What were you afraid of?
I didn't recognize myself. That was the problem. Mm-hmm. I went back to a country that's supposedly my own, where I should feel at home, where I should be comfortable with the language and with the, how the way people do things. And I, for the longest time, didn't recognize myself, didn't fit in, felt like a fish out of water. And so, I don't know, that it's funny to think back to that time, because it's still so confusing. You know what I mean? Like,
part of it, I'm not so sure. Too. I think you had a job, and then all of a sudden, how
one
quickly
day
after?
Next.
I mean, it was like a month or so.
No, after I lost, because the company wasn't doing well and they let go of all foreigners. I had then, by law, I had 90 days to collect my things. Mm-hmm. But that meant selling a house, a car, figuring out how to pack my golden retriever, like
packing up an entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 90 days. Like, I just remember it being so fast that I don't know if you felt this. It just felt like a dream of like, or this nightmare of like, wait, she's really gone? Like,
yeah. Well, taking you to the airport was like, oh, we'll see you next weekend. Like, no.
And yeah, here we are. What? How many years later?
Yeah.
5 more. 6 years later.
But I want to go back to when you were in that. I mean, you were there, right? So maybe your boxes weren't unpacked, and they probably weren't because you were going to the hospital so often.
Yeah, I was in the hospital every day.
But so it sounds like when you were in that place trying to figure it out, it was just literally one day at a time.
It really was. Like I said, I didn't recognize myself. So I didn't know where to go. And at that time I made some poor decisions associated with some people I'm not proud of. But eventually, I think once my mom was well enough and I decided to change my mindset, that's when things started to fall into place. And like slowly, one day at a time, I started to go like, okay, we do things this way here, or, friendships are handled this way. Like when you're so immersed in a culture, everything is so different. The little subtle details of how you think, how you communicate. And so like slowly but surely, I think I was finding my footing again, and reconnecting with people and choosing my experiences instead of like letting them just happen.
Yeah.
So I started to choose. I think that's what made the difference. And
that's
how I met my now husband. And
intentionality versus reactivity. Because I think so often, I know that when I kind of get caught in like maybe like a victim mindset, or like, oh, like, why is this happening to me? It's like I'm letting life happen to me.
Exactly.
I think that definitely, that may not be true for every single moment, but I can definitely see how that is true a lot of the time. And then having that clear intention too, Sarah, to, go back to something that you said, like, you having that intention to just like, okay, like I've reached as far as I can go in this place. And for you, that feels like a pull in your gut, and that pull pulls you somewhere else. And like, it's almost like it pulls you off the cliff. Like you're talking, it's like you almost
don't have a choice.
No, no. Well, so I want to ask you the similar question of, so you're packing up your things in Indy, right? Your family lives in Evansville. You grew up, you were homeschooled. Your father's a farmer, right? And then you take this leap to Indy and you become a private chef and you're killing it. It's like you reach the pinnacle here, and you could have just been sitting pretty, right? We could be having coffee every week.
I know.
We could be having coffee every week, but it's okay. You made a different choice. It's fine. It's fine. But so you got pulled off the cliff to LA, and tell me what that was like when you like arrived and you're in your apartment and you're like, this is my life.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
It was funny. So I was in LA maybe, I think it was 05, 06 to go to culinary school. And that was also a leap because my parents really wanted me to go to Chicago, be closer to home to go to culinary school. And I was like, no, I kind of want to go to California. And I knew, I had my cousins out there, which was great. But LA then never felt like home.
Mm-hmm.
And the second that I got out to LA, the second time, it felt like home.
It was just a gut feeling.
It really was. Like, it felt right. And I always tell people, like, that was probably the hardest year of my life. Like, not having a job, trying to find a job, realizing that, yes, so many more people have private chefs in LA, but it's who you know to get into those jobs. And I quickly realized I didn't know those people. And so it was like, how am I going to do this? Rent is crazy expensive. I'm blowing through my savings, which I thought would last me forever. And it was a really, really tough year. And yet I never had that moment of like, why did I do this? I made a mistake. And I never had the feeling of like, okay, I'm ready to go home.
That's such an incredible thing I want to highlight with what you just said is that, and you kind of touched on it when you talked about like you were blowing through your savings. I know how much you had prepared for this trip. Very different than Marie, right? You weren't plucked out and placed somewhere. It was very intentional, and you had a well laid out plan. You didn't go in blind, and you had basically like bumpers, like almost like bowling. Like you had the bumpers up to make it as smooth of a landing as possible, and yet you were still terrified, which I think for anyone listening, and this is as much of a reminder for myself, you can have the best laid out plan and still, that's not going to eliminate fear. That's not going to eliminate struggle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're so responsible. You've always been.
Yeah.
Like from such a young age, you've always been so responsible, and to have everything prepared like she did, like you said, and savings.
But I think that's also good for me of not having it go just as planned, because I think that's when kind of the magic happens and you actually get the good stuff. When you're like, because I am a planner, I want it to be a certain way and I want things to work out how I want it to work out. And that doesn't always, that's not life. That doesn't happen that way, but you grow so much. Like I felt like I grew so much as a person in that period of having to live in this limbo of what's going to happen and how am I going to make this work. And
so how did you, because I still sometimes I'm like, there was an element of magic or like preparation meeting opportunity, right? Because you didn't just like go to LA and say, I want to be a chef world, blah. Like you had established rapport, you had an incredible resume.
Right, like 10 years of being a private chef that you think you go to some place and you're like, I have 10 years of this experience.
But then you get to LA to make that happen, and then you start off working retail to pay bills. And so it was just...
But that's where I was meant to be, to then meet a chef randomly. She came into the store and I was somewhat drawn to her and her husband, and like we started a conversation, and 30 minutes later found out that she was a private chef. I was like, oh my goodness, like seriously, like I'm looking for work here. Yeah. And I had talked with other people previously, like I had given out my business card at the retail place that I was at so many times, and everyone left being like, oh yeah, I'm going to call you tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. And no one did.
Lies.
Right?
You liars.
Yeah. So I give my card to this girl and she leaves, and I almost start bawling because I realized like, she's not going to call me.
Oh.
And I didn't get her number. Like, why didn't I get her number so then I could reach out to her and like say, hey, remember me? Like if you have anything, whatever. So anyway, the next day or 2 days later, like she calls, we meet for lunch. I think the next day I cook her some food. The following day, she like hands over a couple of her clients because she's going out of town.
Wow.
And these aren't like, Joe Schmo. It's like
people that were on TV.
Yeah.
And still are on TV.
Yeah, totally. And so.
And just to go back to a point you brought up, Danny, planning does not eliminate fear.
No.
So
I remember how terrified you were.
Oh, I was terrified.
Incredible with your cooking. And yet you knew you could do that.
Yeah.
And yet the minute she asked you for a test,
you were like
trembling. You're like, oh crap, can I do this?
I know. You do.
Clearly you did.
Well, you have to like just take a deep breath and be like, okay, I know this. Like,
Well, and I think that is sort of the, for people who do need or prefer having a well laid out plan that want to manage how things happen, there's this element of like, you have a goal, you have a desire, you have a vision of what you think success looks like. Mm-hmm. And then you're, let's say 1,500 or 15,000 steps below where you think you need to be to achieve this thing. And so it feels so insurmountable, but it seems like for both of you, there was almost this balancing act between trusting your gut and putting one step in front of the other. Like, I'm not going to sit in my apartment alone and blame the world and not participate in the world. And yet I'm not doing what I want to do. But through doing what seemed like wasn't even applicable to cooking, you found that person. So there's that sense of like movement and faith, and then also holding on to that dream too.
And not putting yourself as the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier, like you have to choose to not be, in your case, Sarah, like nothing was going according to plan.
Right.
You could have felt victimized, or you could have felt like, the world's against me, and
I mean, I did probably.
And that's why you need your friend.
I did. Yeah,
you did. But you'd never stopped putting one foot in front of the other.
I think you do have to have a hustle and a drive, right? Like, I knew I was going to make it happen no matter what. Mm-hmm. Like,
but in that moment when you started crying after the lady left the shop or the store you worked at, in that moment, that's when you go like, crap, I'm doing everything I could, and yet here I am, totally unconnected from what I'm meant to be doing. How am I going to get there? Mm-hmm. You're in this like desperate moment, and still you wake up the next day and you keep on.
You got to.
Yeah.
But when you need to feel sad and when you need to cry, then you have your friends and your accountability buddy.
Yeah. But I feel like you have to feel. I think I've kind of learned that the past like few years of like, those moments when you're sad and you're feeling like depressed and down, feel those moments, like have a hard cry, whatever it is for that like day or 2 days or whatever you need. And then you have to be like, okay, it sucks. That's not how I planned it. I didn't want that, but like
adjust course.
Yeah.
And move on.
Yeah. Like you have to give yourself that time to mourn or grieve or be angry or whatever that situation is of it didn't work out exactly how I wanted it to, and yet like you can pick yourself back up.
We'll be back to the show after this short break. In this show, I talk about journaling a lot, and that is because, frankly, I believe in it. I believe in journaling. I believe in the art and the practice of sitting down with yourself and getting really acquainted with your own thoughts and feelings. No one knows you better than you. No matter what the expert is, no matter what the topic, you know yourself better than anybody else. And the best way to tap into that wisdom that I have ever found is journaling. Click the link in the show notes and grab a copy of The Treasured Journal. It's a journal made with you in mind. And now, back to the show.
So I would love to zero in on maybe a moment that didn't work out the way you wanted it to. So there's a segment of this podcast called a Don't Cut Your Own Bang moment. And that is how I consider that. It can literally be a bad bang cut. Or it can be what I I consider it more a formative experience where you lay it all on the line, you fully commit, and you fall flat on your face. And because I think that because generally talking about these moments, I think is one thing, but to be in those moments and be like, oh my God, I just tripped and fell and my ass is exposed to the quad in college. And maybe that may or may not did happen in real life. I don't know. But those moments in life where you think, oh, okay, well, I learned from that, and I'm gonna.
I laughed at myself,
again. Right?
But you also have to laugh at yourself, right?
Oh God, you gotta laugh. Oh my word! Oh my heavens, you have to laugh. But I'm just gonna open up the floor and see if either of you have a Don't Cut Your Own Bang moment you'd like to share.
I mean, I definitely do. Well, Marie and I this morning were talking about it, and she's like, I can't really think of anything, and I was like, on a daily basis. I know. I woke up. She's like, I don't know. I'm like, I think we've laughed at me this past 2 days.
Somehow she has these things happen like on a day-to-day basis. I'm like, how? And she laughs. She takes it in such stride. It's awesome.
You must be learning so much, Sarah.
So much.
So much. This is giving you so much wisdom.
Well, there's such blonde moments too.
No,
like,
they are. So my story is such a blonde moment.
As the only brunette here, I can say that.
Yes.
You have your moments. Your blonde moments.
Oh, yeah. We can talk about
really
directions for a minute. But no, so Sarah.
Okay, yeah. So a couple years ago, it was my friend Nate's birthday, and our friend Marcus was out there in California. He came to visit us, and I got a reservation to this really cool place called Delilah's, and it's kind of like this old school restaurant, really dark,
like Prohibition style.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So we sit down to the table, and we're kind of up on the front, like right corner, and all of a sudden there's live music, and Seth MacFarlane comes up and starts singing.
Shut up.
Yeah. So he's
your
singing.
Life. Your freaking life. Okay, go ahead.
So we're like that's Seth MacFarlane singing.
Is that Brian from Family Guy singing right now?
Well, the bathroom is in the left, like front corner, right? And so I had to go to the bathroom. And so I could go the long way around to get to the bathroom, but I see like a straight shot, but you have to go in front of the stage.
Oh, God. I see where this is going.
So I start walking. It's dark. I'm in heels.
Oh, no. Oh,
and
no.
I've had a couple glasses of wine.
Oh, no.
Obviously. So I start walking. I get right in front of Seth.
Oh, no.
And there's the mic cord. And I trip and pretty much fall on my face, right? But I keep going to the bathroom, and I'm like,
nothing happened.
It's fine. Yeah. So I come back.
Did you fall all the way down?
No, just like a little trip. So then I come back, sit back down. Of course, like 30 minutes later, I have to go to the bathroom again.
Right, because once you go on.
And why would I not, again, go around the long way? No. I don't even remember because I kind of blacked this out because it was so mortifying.
Did you get heckled by Seth MacFarlane?
I did. I trip, I pull the mic out of his hand. I can't even remember what he said to me, okay, like laughing and like says something to me. I trip again, like I hand it to him. I trip again on the way to the bathroom. And I stay in the bathroom, like, head in my hands, like, did I just fall 3 times in front of Seth MacFarlane?
Well, you ripped the mic off his hand?
I did. And then you hand it. And then trip again. Nate and Marcus were over there, like, mortified. Like, we are not with her. Like,
God, I wish I had been there. I would have just applauded you.
Yeah, right.
I took it in stride, like, it is what it is. But,
she's the one that laughs when you get stuff in your eye.
Yeah.
I mean, I make sure you're okay first. I'm like, are you all right? Good job. Oh my God. Yeah, Sarah, if I had a trophy for the best cut your own bangs story, I would give it to you right now.
Yeah.
But okay, so what did you learn?
She could tell you like so many more of these. She's too good at these.
Hold on, let's read it
amazing.
in. So embarrassing moments aside, how does that informed you?
I mean, I think you have to be who you are, right? Like, yeah. I'm just one that, like, I have those done.
Did you throw those shoes away?
I don't even remember what I was wearing, but
because you blacked it out.
It had a combination of like shoes, wine, darkness,
and a cord.
Yeah, and a cord.
I mean, really,
and being like, hey, Seth, hey, like.
I think the moral of the story is it was Seth's fault.
It was.
I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah.
That blame other people. It's never our fault. And, like who puts a black cord in a black dark? I'm sorry, Seth, but come on. What were you thinking there?
Yeah. But I just feel like you have to like be able to laugh at yourself. Yes. And sometimes I tend to overthink those moments. I know. Overthink those moments of being like, why are you so stupid? Of like, how could you do that? Like, but then you have those moments for a second and then I just have to be like, it is what it is. Like, I'm that type of person that I have those daily moments.
Oh, God. But it's like when you own them.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's part of who you are. And
it is.
You get such good laughs.
He should have started singing That's Live. Well, that's live.
I know. I don't think he thought it was so funny. He thought it was like, seriously, girl? Like, that doesn't make any, like, really.
Yeah.
So that's my moment.
That's good Lord. That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me here.
Anytime.
Yeah. We'll just have segments with Sarah. So
what you do today?
Yeah. Who's the other celebrity you fell in front of?
You can have daily drops of Don't Cut Your Own Bangs with her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm on the 405 and I see Brad Pitt and then I
stumble over
and he cuts me off and then I'm like, what? Oh my God. So, Marie?
Right. Like I said, I woke up this morning. Actually, Sarah woke me up.
But the one that you told me this morning, that's pretty good.
And I went to bed thinking about this. Like, when have I been so embarrassed? And I think I either blocked them out completely.
It did not happen?
Right.
No, but that's part of your story, though. It did not happen.
And now that because I told Sarah, this morning, the story, and I've been thinking about it, I actually do. I think I block it out so much to where it didn't happen.
You rewrite history.
I did. I'm sorry. It didn't happen.
Right. It's such deep denial that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But I do remember this was the first time I remember being embarrassed. I think it was, I can't remember if I was turning 13. Or it's like that preteen years.
Oh, that delicate stage.
Yeah, where you think you're like a cool teenager already, but you're nowhere.
With your puff paint and your new kiss on the block.
Your boobs are starting to come out.
You're
It's
little
awkward.
Your little nubbins, but you're still proud of them.
And you buy the padded bra and well, you think you're a teenager, but you're still clearly not. And my mom was also the biggest cheerleader for my self-esteem.
She was.
And so she's always been on my corner. And so she's like, well, honey, you're almost a teenager now. And I'm like, I am a teenager. So we should throw you a party. And so we planned this and of course it had to be a nighttime party. Otherwise you're still a kid.
And boy-girl party?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Slow dancing and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so it had to be a nighttime party. And of course, girls at that age, we thought about our outfit for
all day.
Planned our outfit for a month in advance.
Yeah.
And so it was going to be so cool. And it was the first time I was going to have all these people over at my house. And, my mom's pretty cool about letting us get away with stuff. And so I was like, okay, I have to do something different because I have to be super hot for this party.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted highlights because a friend of mine was blonde, like you guys, with beautiful highlights. And my hair has always been super thick but dark. And I wanted streaks of highlights. But of course I wasn't going to ask a 13-year-old wasn't going to ask her mom for professionally done highlights. I was like, I got this. I can do this.
I can see your mind. I can figure this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You made your own. You made your own extension cord.
I'm pretty resourceful. I'm very a DIY person. And so I was like, I got this. I can do this. So I'm in my mom's bathroom and I got it's the bleaching stuff for highlights.
Mm-hmm. Bleach. It's bleach.
Yeah. You mix it with a little powder and whatnot, and it turns purple. And then you just at the salon, but for some reason in Brazil, it's common to have that at the house. So I take it and I get this thick strand of hair right around my forehead.
Oh my God.
And it wasn't a cute little strand. It was a really thick strand of hair.
Like Kelly Clarkson first season of American Idol?
Yeah, the vampire from... Yeah, exactly.
Love you, Kelly. That wasn't a dig. I love you, Kelly.
Or the vampire from X-Men. She has that big, thick white strand.
Wait, not the vampire from X-Men. You mean the girl who, Rogue?
Yeah.
That one.
Sorry. Yeah. Not good with my movies.
It's okay. You're fluent in 4 languages. You always win.
Okay. It's
fine. So then I go to the bathroom and I do it. And as it's happening, I realize I've done something wrong. It's turning orange. And then I'm like, maybe I should just leave it on longer because this is part of the process. So by the time I take it out, it is this colored nasty yellow. And I have no way to go back. So I'm I realized being so embarrassed of myself for doing this and going I'll just have to pretend this is natural. I just went to the beach.
That's the funniest part. Pretend it's natural.
I internalized this. I was I've got this. This is okay.
Just act as if.
I'm not going to ruin my party. So I go out into the world saying that this happened by accident or that I didn't do it.
Oh yeah.
I came up with the most awful stories. No, I opened the cabinet and it fell on my head.
But she was also, you said that you were also telling, like, Bianca pulled her aside, her friend,
My
and was
best friend at the time pulled me like pushed me against the wall and go, "What happened? What did you do?" I was like, "I didn't do it." Like I don't know. Like such strong, like I was in such strong denial.
Bold-faced
lie. I totally erased it from my mind, and I didn't
do it.
And you're probably such a good liar. You made other people think something was wrong with them. Like you guys.
I think I'm a good liar.
Yeah, you're a good communicator.
Husband, don't listen to her.
Yeah. Kayoshi never lies.
I was in such denial that at the party, people kept coming up to me going like, "Oh, what salon did you do that at?" And I could see them thinking like, "So I can never go to this salon." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't. This is natural. My hair does this.
It just does it in the sun." I have. God, I can 100% relate to that. So I remember when I first discovered Sunless Tanner, and this was before Sunless Tanner was good, and it was orange and tangerine, and I was probably 13 or 14.
It came in a spray bottle.
I don't remember the bottle it came in. All I remember was that I really followed the directions for the first time in my life because I never read directions, and it said thoroughly wash your hands after applying. So I'm smearing this all over. I'm like, I'm finally gonna be tan, guys. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life. And I smear, and then I thoroughly wash my hands. And what you can't see, I'm like rolling my hands like all around in between the fingers, thoroughly washed. The next day I wake up, there is a hard line from my wrist down. So my hands are snow white. But the rest of me is tangerine. And I had this similar like bold-faced lie moment where I walk into school and I think no one will notice. Everyone noticed because it was like
denial.
From the wrist down, I was powder. From the movie powder. And then from the wrist up, I looked like I took a jar of peanut butter and smeared it around. And so what I told them, I was like, yeah, because my mom wouldn't let me go to the tanning bed. Thanks, Mom. I thank you for that now because I'll look like a baby forever. But I was like, no, you guys, I laid in the tanning bed and I fell asleep with my hands out of the bed. and then when they were like, but it was on both hands. The door is only on one side.
Oh, right.
So I was like, yeah, well, I just like,
it's like a coffin. You have to pull the thing over you.
So I was like, and I didn't know that because I had never been in a tanning bed. So I was like, oh yeah, I just flipped over and my hand fell out on the other side. It it was awful. And
when you try so hard to like, do something. And the thing too is like, I thought it was going to be such a cool thing. I was like convinced it was going to be like awesome.
I was convinced I was going to look like Giselle.
Exactly. Yeah, like you have such strong belief that that's going to be incredible that when shit happens, you're like, what? It's still incredible. I'm just going to deny the fact that it's like awful. Horrible. In my mind, it's still beautiful.
Amazing. Honestly, you could have just put some gel in that blonde streak and made it a unicorn.
There you go.
Yeah.
I one day I'll find a photo to show you guys because
I would like to see that.
And maybe for listeners, if you find it, I'll share it on social media. Okay. I think that would be great if you're comfortable with that.
The party was still great, by the way.
Of course it was.
Went off without a hitch. Oh my God. Well, I think probably my takeaway from that experience was when I try that too hard to be something or someone I'm not.
That's true.
It's usually when it blows up in my face. And that's why bangs for me were always a mistake because whenever I fight with my hair is thick. And did I mention it was thick? And full. And it gobbles up humidity like an all-you-can-eat buffet. and I'm just like, humidity. And then it just goes, bloop, 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 and it grows. And so that's just why I got to stay away from the bangs, folks. Well, that was great. So that 13-year-old sweet little girl and Sarah, the girl who tripped up in a Sesame Parlin last week. Well, maybe for you, we'll back it up a little more. What do you think the Sarah from 4.5 years ago that was packing up her U-Haul and loading up her life to begin this drive across country to build this new future in LA, what do you think she would need to hear from you now, knowing what you know now?
I think don't give up. Your plans are amazing, but it's not going to happen that way, and that's okay. Kind of lean into it, and enjoy the process. I don't know if I enjoyed the process as much as I maybe should have. Yeah. Because I think I was worrying, like, is this going to, it felt right, but it's still like, I want things to be in a pretty little box, and it wasn't.
Yeah, you were so afraid of the outcome not happening that you couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah. So I think, enjoy the process. It's okay. Like, you're going to have some really shitty days. That's okay. But keep going and you'll make it happen.
I love that. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
But you have to take the leap.
You have to leap.
Yeah.
Yeah. All this great talk aside, if you don't take the leap, you're just going to be sitting and waiting on the cliff face.
And it may not be like this, for someone, it may not be moving to another country or across the country, but in your own way, like whatever that may be, take those risks because they're so worth it. Yeah, it's so worth it.
It could be saying yes to a date. It could be It could be saying no to a relationship. It doesn't have to necessarily be a career leap. That just happens to be what we're talking about.
And that's funny because you just said the no to a relationship. Sometimes the no is a leap.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean,
I don't think people realize that, like, taking a leap always sounds or seems like accepting something, going for something, taking that step. But it could be backing off or like letting go or, really detaching yourself from something that is holding you. Mm-hmm. So taking the leap could be a negative, not a negative thing, but the removal of something that's not good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marie, what do you think your sweet, highly independent, but maybe follically challenged 13-year-old self what do you think she would have needed to hear from you that you know now? Because, my God, that little girl was about to go on a big adventure. She was going to finish high school and then move to the U.S.
Yeah.
What did she need to hear?
That I didn't have to follow what other people expected of me. Because my decisions, my choice of what I graduated in, and my choices of what I tried to be while I was here were shaped by what people expected of me and what people expected of me professionally, especially what they thought I should be, what the type of businesswoman, they thought I should be. And if I had listened more closely to who I truly am, I would have taken a different route as far as like what I studied. Granted, like graduating in business administration was great because it's so useful for so many things, and I do use it on a day-to-day basis. But I wouldn't have wasted so much energy on trying to be this like hard-ass, bossy, heartless type of like financial market kind of girl that I'm not. I'm like my heart dictates things. Like I care for people. I can't step on somebody to like, take the next to like advance. And so I would have told myself that like, you don't have to be what they want you to be. You can choose for yourself.
Yeah. Living your light.
That would have made a difference. I eventually got there. Now I truly know who that is and how I handle things in my business. I handle, my employees and the way I want to and not the way business says I should or, how strict I should be. And it's all based on respect. And although I would have enjoyed a few more years of like, of that if somebody had told me that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and I think any day you spend trying to live up to what someone else expects of you, that's going to be a disappointing day. So, okay, guys, so we're going to flash forward, right? We're going to hop in our time machine and we're going to catapult to when we're all in our beach cottage.
That we've been talking about.
Yes, right. So humpback whales are breaching. Yeah. Our yacht is, off the shore. We see it just like safely anchored.
The private jet took us there.
I'll
take the airlines, guys. I'm not okay with private jets.
Okay, so Sarah and I will meet there. We're going to be sipping on some champagne, some champagne. Waiting for you. Yeah. It's like, Marie's going through customs.
I know.
Oh, geez.
Thanks.
So, and we'll...
Those big birds don't fall.
Actually, and we'll have our dogs with us because on a private jet we can bring
them. And you can't.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'll probably borrow Oprah's. I'll be like, Oprah, can I borrow your jet? Okay,
you can come along too.
Thanks. Oh, I have like a clever nickname for it. So anyway, so we're in our future, and Marie, you've built your restaurant empire. You've brought an American style restaurant to Brazil, and you have a house full of beautiful fur babies and other babies and all kinds of babies, and your husband is doing push-ups and planting trees and
shirtless.
Yes, shirtless planting trees. And
see, Kyle, you need to wear more.
I know. Every
gonna
time we
listen
say
to
it,
this.
we're
Yeah.
like-
He's
Although,
No,
so
actually, Kyle, you should
don't keep doing what you're doing. You beat fly, little dove. And then Sarah, you have your chefing and your nutritional coaching business, and you become like Paul Newman, and you have like Sarah's own dressings and like every counter in the world, and you have like a dressing empire. I just made that up, but you're in that beautiful future, right? When you have everything you ever wanted in life. What do you think that version of you would want to tell you, or really feel like she needs to tell you today?
Yeah. Sorry, you had this look on your face like you were thinking about
I know.
it. And to me, it's so clear.
Buy more cats?
Yeah.
Marie has 8 cats.
4.
4, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Although I will accept a Maine Coon if, one of those giant cats, somebody wants to give me one.
I swear.
I'm okay with it.
A Man Coon? What?
Yeah, it's the breed. It's the name of the breed. They're huge.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said cats. It's my fault.
Like the man and the raccoon.
Man Coon.
No. It's a cat
Which is
breed.
Kyle and a raccoon house. Sorry. What would your future wise self tell you?
I would tell her that, or us in this case, that there is no beautiful future. We're living it right now.
Like enjoy the process, enjoy now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're here now. I mean, if I learned anything from this whole like having my life thrown upside down was like, you have to live the now. Like if we're constantly looking for the beautiful future.
Or like the weekend. You're waiting for the weekend. You're waiting for the summer. You're waiting for that.
Like, granted, we would much rather be in the same place that we could like, sip mimosas on a Sunday morning every Sunday. Mm-hmm. But like, if that's not the reality of it, we make stuff like this happen. And you don't have to wait for those beautiful moments to come in the future. Like they're happening all around us all the time. Like you can take joy and friendship and love and such good things from like day-to-day life. I'm always so upset by seeing people that like are like, as soon as I get to this place, I'll be okay. Or as soon as, Friday rolls around, I'll be happy because I'm miserable from like Monday through Friday. And so like, that's what I've been working really hard on, is structuring my life in a way that like Monday through Sunday, there are good days. Even if like it's a little good, a little bad, a little, neutral on each one of them, but you get good on all of them. And moments like this happen and mini vacations and.
So your 90-year-old self would just tell you to keep finding pleasure in the moment?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
I like that. I think,
You can't take her, so you have to come off down.
No, I think that's definitely something for sure. And like just enjoying that process. And I think also to start prioritizing what is important, let go of those things that are like, maybe what you should be doing, like, or what people want you to be doing, or the path that you should be taking, or whatever. Let go of those things and prioritize what's important to you and like what you really truly desire and want, and go for that. Don't just like, try to get so much stuff in your basket that then you don't enjoy the time, like, and try to figure out those things that you really like.
Yeah, glorification of being busy, right?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah, let go of what doesn't.
That's our thing. You want to out busy. I'm more busy than you.
So cool to be
like
super busy and have time for nothing. Like I actually nowadays pride myself in like not being that busy. Like if you ask me for help, I can help you. And like if a friend needs something, or like if I want to take an hour out of the day for myself, I can.
Well, I think that could lead into probably a whole nother hour podcasting.
Right.
I think that's so applicable and so true. And I think that both are beautiful. Like find the joy in the moment, in the now, and don't wait for a future to bring you happiness. You have to find happiness where you are. And Sarah, let go of what doesn't serve you. And when people talk about letting go of the shoulds, I like to say, stop shoulding all over yourself.
It's true. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, just stop shoulding all over yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I, love you more than words can say on the podcast. And thank you both for sharing your story and your time with me today and with anyone listening. And I'll make sure to put in the show notes how you can connect with Sarah and Marie and follow them on social media if that's your jam. Otherwise, you can just keep listening to this on repeat and build your own special relationship with them. But yeah, they both have a very unique and beautiful perspective, and I think more people need to know about it. So thank you guys for being here, and I'm going to go drink coffee with you upstairs.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Bye.